What is up, my beautiful people? Hope you're all having a wonderful day. Exile 451 here with yet another daily dose of Reddit Happy. Going back to r/self-improvement today for a story all about depression and climbing out of it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. The story of my depression. How I got into it, and how I got out. Hi friends. I wanted to share the story of my own depression with you today. I'm doing this because I have a host of closely held opinions about depression and anxiety. To me, it is an absolutely changeable condition and not a permanent one. Further, I believe that the bulk of it can be changed by addressing the fundamental way that we approach life itself. It has to do with our deepest held assumptions about life. If we can locate what they are, and if we're willing to change them, then lots of relief becomes available to us. With all that said, here is my own first-hand account. I was born a happy-go-lucky kid and remained that way until 8th grade. I was also a weirdo and was insufferable to the rest of my cohorts, and at one point, they all collectively chose to push me away, to the side, rejected. I took this very hard. Two things happened in this time. One, I took on an ambivalence regarding life, where I no longer wished to live, but instead took on this impatient attitude toward my natural death. Almost like, I don't like this game, I'm just gonna sit this out until the buzzer rings and I can be dead. Two, I dedicated all of my attention toward the study of charm, charisma, popularity, and human mating rituals. I became very popular and charming, increasingly so over the years, culminating at the end of my undergrad at university, where I met my girlfriend, who's since then agreed to marry me. At around 24 years old, we chose to leave our home in Canada and go on an extended travel adventure that would end up lasting almost 4 years. This was for the purpose of travel, but in particular, it was an opportunity for me to explore my new interests: spirituality, enlightenment, awakening, and meditation. My studies deepened and I continued to grow in consciousness as I continued these studies. I eventually reached a point where there was nothing left to search for, nothing left to be desired on the spiritual path. At the same time, my original waiting for the buzzer from when I was 13 went from a dull background throb to a full-blown desire for death. You would hear me bewailing what I called the human condition, where I thought that simple existence was pain and that being alive simply was not worth the trouble. There was such shifting and awakening inside of me that I became incredibly disoriented and confused. I became quite useless. I couldn't bring myself to do much more than get dressed and keep my teeth brushed for a period of months. My girlfriend worked double in her freelancing to support us both. We were living in Thailand at the time, so the cost of living was mercifully low. Looking back on it now, the bulk of my suffering was not due to what I was going through, but due to my lack of trust in what was happening. On the deepest level, I knew that I was in the midst of a massive transformation process. A lot in me that was false was attempting to fall away. My true nature was beginning to emerge. But I was gripping and clinging and flailing and fighting. I had no trust. This slowed everything down and made it unnecessarily unpleasant. We eventually came back to our home and native land and were blessed with an opportunity to house sit for a dear friend who had bought property in one province but was called away to another. We could stay there, where I practiced allowing that which was trying to happen. It was at this point, when I was 28 years old, where I had, without exaggeration, made the most important decision of my life. Whether or not I really can be in control of my life. I asked myself, is this possible or impossible? Am I just to surrender to the whims of the universe? Or am I to assert my creative control over my life? I felt so incredibly powerless that I couldn't imagine being powerful or accomplishing anything significant. But I nevertheless chose to believe that I should be able to become stable. From that decision, very slowly, I arrived at a mental place where I was able and willing to take on employment. We moved to a bigger city and I took up work as a charity fundraiser. Later, I experimented with life coaching and began doing it part-time. As of now, it's full-time, and I'm now 32. And that's how that happened. There is, of course, tons and tons more in the details, but that's the general overview. The big thing that changed it for me was A, trust that all is well and that I am indeed moving into higher and higher personal evolution, and B, that I can create my life as I see it in my imagination, if I'm willing to take focused action towards it. As a final note, I don't mean to suggest that your depression, if you have any, would follow the same format, but it's sometimes helpful to hear how different people have navigated, so that there can be at least some type of roadmap. What was important for me to realize was that there would be no going back to how things were. Depression is a crucible that we're forged in, where all that is false falls away and we emerge clear and powerful. Trust is key. May you be blessed. Well, OP, that is certainly quite the story. I'm sorry you had to go through that when you were younger, but let's be honest, kids can be cruel sometimes. However, it sounds like you've had quite the transformation in your life to bring you to where you are now. And it's great to hear that you have, because it just proves there is hope for anyone. As you will know, depression can be such a beast. Just a monster that seems impossible to slay, no matter how hard someone may try. That sense of, why bother even getting up when I already know today is going to suck, will far too often prove to be destructive to everything and everyone they've ever cared about. But your story shows there is always a way out, so long as someone is willing to try and make the effort to do so. It's a one day at a time type of thing, but eventually, like you say, your life can be everything it is in your imagination. Thank you so much for sharing your story, and honestly, I'm really glad to hear you're in a place now where you feel like you can help others move forward with their lives as well. If anyone is interested in checking him out, I've included a link to OP's channel in the description. He's got several videos about reaching your potential as a person, letting go of negative emotions, and more that I highly recommend if you feel they would help you. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. I truly appreciate all that you've done to support the channel, for you coming by and watching these videos, and for all the growth that the channel has been seeing lately. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like and subscribe so you can get more of your daily dose of Reddit happy right here every weekday. Now go out, have a great day. I will see you all tomorrow. Until then, I'm Exile451. Stay beautiful, people.